Alright, while I'm waiting for my pasta to be ready, I felt like talking about some absolute bangers that Bionicle released in their weapons lineup. First, I'm going to be talking about the Visorak. Well, not the spiders as a whole, but the little weapons they had on their back that just launched out of their backs. And yeah, I mean, this is also kind of where my Bionicle obsession started, was with these spiders. So the weapons they have are near and dear to my heart. They were called the Rotuka Spinners, apparently. They were sold at a retail price of around $2 back then. I don't know why I said around, it was $2. Alright, that's enough of talking about these spiders' back weapons. Let's move on to the weapon in the Umbra sets. I never owned this guy, but this weapon, it makes me wish I did. It's just two, like, separate swords, and I'm pretty sure it came in other sets with this Bionicle lineup, like, of this era. And by the way, if you couldn't already tell, I'm just kind of spitballing here. I faintly remember my time with Bionicle, but I do remember that I was obsessed with it. But yeah, I wish that I was obsessed enough to own this guy because he has a sort of Darth Maul weapon going on there. Two different light up swords. I did own a couple of these with the other sets that they came in, but I wish I had this guy. Alright, now let's talk about, once again, another dude that I did not own, the Ernak. And just, he's carrying the ammo in his claw while he has the... That weapon he has is so weird because it's... How effective is that? What are the points of the two skulls that are near the weapon? It doesn't help you aim it, does it? It doesn't help him aim it. If anything, it's worse for this guy to aim that green little ball because of those two skulls weighing like on either side of his hand. Alright guys, sorry about that. That was my pasta rudely interrupting me. But now I want to talk about the Zor Spheres that came with the Inika sets. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments telling me how to pronounce these names correctly. I'm sorry, okay? Go ahead, comment them below if you want to correct me like that. So yeah, the Inika sets, I had a lot of these guys. Basically, the whole collection, I'm sure. They weren't that expensive, at least... not for my mom. So I actually probably spent half of her paycheck on these things. I love you, Mom. So yeah, these guys came with some awesome weapons like the little Zamor shooters, but they had those top sections that you could fit like 3 more balls in, which is really cool. And in addition to that, they also had those swords that I touched on with the Umar set, which were light up, really nice of them. I'm pretty sure the battery in these things lasted like, I feel like if I found one now, like in the depths of my old toy collection, they would still work. That's how OP they were. Now I want to talk about one of the hardest weapons in Bionicle history, Axon's axe. Dude, do I even need to say anything? Just look at this guy. Look at that axe he's holding. The fingers, that was one of my favorite parts of this sets that I owned. Thank God, because it was so badass. Like, the fingers, the way you could articulate them. I don't remember many Bionicle sets that I owned that had like these kind of posable individual fingers. That just made it feel much more powerful. Gripping that axe, swinging it every which way at my poor Inika figures. So yeah, there we go. Axon's axe is definitely top tier Bionicle weapons. Not much I can say about this guy other than it's peak. It's peak. Alright, now I want to talk about my favorite villain line Bionicle ever released, and that is the Paraca. Because I remember when I used to play these guys in the Bionicle video game that were released years ago. And more specifically, I want to talk about my favorite weapon in this series. The little gun that the red Paraca Hakan. Alright, it's got to be pronounced one of those ways, right? So yeah, the little gun that he has with the red laser coming out of it. That was, I think, my favorite one compared to the other Paracas. And the other weapons that they had were, as you see, those little Zamor shooters. I'm just calling them Zamor shooters. So, yeah. The Zamor shooters and these little Paraca weapons were top tier as well. More specifically, this red ones. Alright, now let's talk a bit about the Toa's Gatling Guns of weapons they had. I mean, they're Gatling guns that just shoot out missiles like 50 per second. At least that's how my younger self saw it. Each one of these guys came with these guns. This dude, the Toa Kongu, came with 2 of them, as if one wasn't enough to absolutely annihilate their enemies, which we're going to get to right now. The Baraki. Okay, I probably should have saved these weapons for last, but we're here, so screw it. These guys are the proud owners of my favorite Bionicle weapons of all time. The little squid launchers. They're squid launchers. Get out of here with your Gatling guns, your huge axes. I'm all about shooting these little rubbery fishes out of these weird gray contraptions that took years to know how to actually use. It wasn't until I saw this one YouTube video that I figured out, oh, this is a more, efficient way of using these little squid launchers. But yeah, Lego was no help in showing me how to use these things, but I didn't care. I just like having these little squishy fishies around, maybe just throwing them, flicking them without the use of the gray launchers. In addition to these guys, the Paraca also had their own unique weapons attached to them. The red one, Kalma, had the weird, tentacles on his arms, which is pretty cool. And the white one, Predak, had, I think, my favorite of the sets of the Paraca. It had that little pincer or that white sword claw, whatever that is. I just like how sleek it looked. So yeah, there we go, Paraca. Congrats. You guys are the proud owners of my favorite weapons in the Bionicle series. Now I want to talk about the Fantoca's weapons. This is near the end of my Bionicle obsession, sadly, so I'm going to get pretty emotional here. Nah, psych, there's no room for that. I want to talk about the Fantoca's launchers of their own. I want to remember what they're called. They're just these little silver balls that they would launch. And the reason these things are notable to me is because they're probably the most deadly weapons Lego's ever produced. I remember them being really fast and accurate, which is really cool, obviously, but now that I think about it, really dangerous. These little silver balls were so small. They shot out fast. They could have poked some kid's eye out. They could have poked my eye out. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why I wear glasses now, and now I have a fake eye in, and I don't know about it because it was so long ago. So yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. Those are the Fantoca weapons. I want to talk about the enemies of the Fantoca, though. They have their own weird spheres in the middle of their chests, which at first glance, it's like, what's so special about this? Well, it's the things that come out of it. More rubbery goodness. These weird, they look like Starbits from the Mario Galaxy series, but they have little faces on them. They really do rival the squids and the squid launcher weapons, but since the squid launchers came first, I have a special place in my heart for them. But these guys are a really close second. Well, they are second place because they're just little rubbery faces that these enemies of the Fantoca just release, and they just chomp at you, I guess. They have these little teeth and eyes. And I think it's a perfect way to end this weird list, if you can call it that, of some of the best Bionicle weapons that I could remember.